Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we usually go back and look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. However, today we have a special bonus episode where we're going to look at Netflix's 2025 gothic science fiction drama called Frankenstein. This one is directed by Guillermo del Toro and stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, and Christoph Waltz. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thank you for joining me for this special bonus episode. As always, if this is a film that you haven't seen yet and you're interested in having it a watch before you listen to my thoughts, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because I will spoil this film as we go. And this is a pretty big film at the moment, so hopefully you have seen it. Other than that, let's get into the show. Let's have a chat about Frankenstein and how it ended up on Netflix. But we do start at the show with our Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about a scientist who wants to defeat death, so he tries to play God and create life. That's a big overarching statement from me. Very interesting. Other than that, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So this is a well-known character. This is a well-known story. It's been around for 200 years, 100 and something. It's been around for a long time. So there have been many film adaptations of this story from Mary Shelley. And I think we've got to sort of have a think about where Guillermo del Toro comes about with his version of events. So the working title for this at various stages throughout time, it was called Dr. Frankenstein at one stage. It was called Pretorius at one stage. And it was also called The Prodigal Father. So the tagline for this, and I tied into this in my Fast Flicks, but the tagline is "Only monsters play God," and that's a big theme throughout this film as well. So let's go back to 2007 to start talking about Guillermo del Toro, where he said that this is a project he would kill to make. And he said it would be a faithful Miltonian tragedy version of Frankenstein, citing Frank Darabont's pretty much perfect script, which evolved into Kenneth Branagh's film Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We go to January of 2008, where he revealed that he was in the process of crafting drawings, which he hoped to use as a basis for the world of the film, and that, additionally, he'd begun taking script notes, but stopped once the WGA strike occurred. The following month, Del Toro said of his vision, he said, "What I'm trying to do is take the myth and do something with it, but combining elements of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein without making it just a classical myth of the monster. The best moments in my mind of Frankenstein of the novel are yet to be filmed," he said. "The only guy that has ever nailed for me the emptiness, not the tragic, not the Miltonian dimension of the monster, but the emptiness is Christopher Lee in the Hammer films, where he really looks like something obscenely alive. Boris Karloff has the tragedy element nailed down, but there are so many versions, including that great screenplay by Frank Darabont, that was ultimately not really filmed." Later that year, in 2008, in September, the film was set up through Del Toro's 3-year first-look picture deal at Universal Pictures, alongside a slate of films he was announced to be directing, including Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Slaughterhouse-5, and Drood. Del Toro cited Bernie Wrightston's Frankenstein illustrations as inspiration and said the film would not be a direct adaptation of Mary Shelley's novel, but rather an adventure story that involves the creature. Del Toro wanted Wrightson to design his version of the creature. We go to 2009, where Del Toro stated that production on Frankenstein was not likely to begin for at least 4 years. Despite this, he had already cast frequent collaborator Doug Jones in the role of the creature and begun initiating makeup tests with the actor. Jones later commented that the project was shelved due to Universal's future plans for their Dark Universe franchise. And how well did that go? Not very. We go to Comic-Con at 2010, where Del Toro told Collider that the story was his favourite novel in the world. In 2013, Del Toro expressed public interest in casting Benedict Cumberbatch for the role of the creature. In 2014, Del Toro said that he would like to do versions of both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, and that Universal chairperson Donna Langley had approached him several times about getting it going, but that he was too reluctant to do so because it was his dream project. In 2016, Del Toro said of his efforts to make the film, "Frankenstein to me is the pinnacle of everything, and part of me wants to do a version of it. Part of me has for more than 25 years chickened out of making it. I dream I can make the greatest Frankenstein ever, but then if you make it, you've made it. Whether it's great or not, it's done. You cannot dream about it anymore. That's the tragedy of a filmmaker. You landed a 10 or you landed a 6.5, but you were at the Olympics already and you were judged. I like that. That's good. In 2020, in an interview promoting the film Antlers, Del Toro stated that if he had the funding, he would make an adaptation of Frankenstein that would span 2 to 3 films due to the book's complexity and changing points of view. We then go to 2023, we're getting closer, where the project was revived by Netflix, with whom Del Toro had signed a multi-year deal to produce projects. Following the win for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio at the 95th Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature, Variety revealed that he was set to write and direct the feature with Andrew Garfield, Oscar Isaac, and Mia Goth in early talks for potential roles. In September, Del Toro revealed that filming was scheduled to commence in February 2024 and that Christopher Waltz had been added to the cast. We then go to January, where Jacob Elordi replaced Garfield for the role of the creature due to scheduling conflicts that had resulted from the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Del Toro had spent 9 months designing the look of Garfield's creature, but that was scrapped when he departed, leaving only 9 weeks for him to redesign the look for the taller Elordi. Del Toro explained about taking his own approach to this adaptation. What I find beautiful is that when you create a universal myth, whether it's Frankenstein, Pinocchio, Dracula, or Sherlock Holmes, the myth itself rises so far above the original material that any interpretation is equally faithful if done with sincerity, power, and personality. If you think of terms of fidelity to the canon, you would be completely paralyzed. Principal photography for the film began on February 12, 2024 in Toronto and concluded on September 30. Additional filming took place at the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, the Hospital Field House in Arbroath, Angus and Burley House in Stamford, Lincolnshire in September of 2024. Del Toro stated that the movie will not be a horror movie, but an incredibly emotional story. Oscar Isaac, who plays the lead character of Frankenstein, says the film is this very European story, but told through a very Latin American, Mexican, Catholic point of view. So it was just high passion all the time. Del Toro said of his inspiration for making the movie, "It was a religion for me," he said. "Since I was a kid, I was raised very Catholic. I never quite understood the saints. And then when I saw Boris Karloff on the screen, I understood what a saint or a messiah looked like. So I've been following the creature since I was a kid, and I always waited for the movie to be done in the right conditions, both creatively, in terms of achieving the scope that it needed for me to make it different, to make it at a scale that you would reconstruct the whole world." Del Toro acknowledged James Whale's 1931 film of the same title as a formative influence, and his version draws also from its sequel, the 1935 Bride of Frankenstein. Del Toro also cited Rebecca from 1940 by Alfred Hitchcock, Wuthering Heights 1939, Dragonwyck from 1946, and Uncle Silas from 1947 among his cinematic inspirations and influences. During a Netflix event in Los Angeles, the first footage from the film was scored to Polish composer Wojciech Killer's score from Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992. And then we're talking a little bit more about the film, but the sets. So Frankenstein's laboratory and Captain Anderson's ship in the actual film were constructed as full sets. Guillermo del Toro said, "I want real sets. I don't want digital. I don't want AI. I don't want simulation. I want old-fashioned craftsmanship. People painting, building, hammering, plastering." For his role as the monster, Jacob Elordi studied Japanese Buto dance, which is a form that involves undignified poses and dark themes, and Mongolian throat singing to capture the monster's mannerisms. Playing Frankenstein's creation was the most demanding role of Jacob Elordi's career. He spent up to 10 hours in the makeup chair for extensive makeup application each day. To make his early call time, he'd sometimes arrive at the makeup trailer at 10 p.m. and stay up all night. Director Guillermo del Toro says he came to believe Elordi was superhuman. "Never once did he come to me and complain," he said. "Never once did he come to me and say, 'I'm tired, I'm hungry, can I go?' And he put in 20-hour days. Elordi loved the experience. 'It's the most I felt at home ever, playing a character and shooting a movie,' he had said. 'It was the most comfortable I've ever been.'" Harlander is a character in this film, and he's an entirely original character for the film. His closest equivalent in the novel is Dr. Waldman, Victor's mentor, whose work inspires Victor to attempt to create a monster. In working with Netflix, Del Toro said, "We will get the biggest theatrical release that Netflix gives its films. I don't know the exact number, but it's 3 weeks exclusively, and then it can stay in theaters longer. And Netflix is also going to release it on physical media. Excellent. I didn't know that. Just like they did with Del Toro's 2022 film Pinocchio. The theatrical experience is very important, Del Toro said. I believe in it. But if the choice is between being able to make the movie and have portions of the release be theatrical and portions be streaming, or not make the movie, that's an easy decision to make. For a filmmaker, you want to tell your story. So there we go, Del Toro, very keen on getting this movie made. The Netflix logo at the start of this film, it's cool. Again, if you listen to our bonus episode the other week for the Catherine Bigelow film that we covered, the logo was a little bit different. This one, it's formed by two batteries which have running electric charge in Victor Frankenstein's laboratory. So that was cool as well. There is also a 45-minute making of documentary on Netflix called Frankenstein, The Anatomy Lesson. I love this behind the scenes stuff, and this is great. This is really good. It's a 45-minute take that has a lot of talking, but a lot of behind the scenes shots that give you sort of an understanding of how much practical stuff was actually done in this film. I know there's a lot of whack about the AI that's been used in this film, but man, they put a lot of effort into the makeup and the sets and the costumes and all that sort of stuff. But after watching it, it did make me wonder a little bit that maybe this little 45-minute clip had been put together to send out to each of the craft academies for award consideration, because that's what it felt like a little bit by the end. Other than that, we're ready to get into the crux of this film. This did debut at the Venice Film Festival on the 30th of August 2025 before playing at the Toronto International Film Festival on the 8th of September 2025. It played a variety of other festivals and had a limited theatrical release, as mentioned before hitting Netflix worldwide on the 7th of November 2025. This apparently cost $120 million to make. That is a huge budget, and you've got to hope that Netflix are getting a bit of bang for buck for their investment, because in that short theatrical release, and I know Netflix don't necessarily give correct box office numbers, it looks like it's only made a bit over $300,000, but obviously Netflix's model is different. It's about how many people stream it on their service. This was filmed in the UK and Canada, and so far for the award season, it's got 8 wins and a further 4 nominations. It did win the Fan Heart 3 award at the Venice Film Festival for Best Film, so very good. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? Let's get into it. On Rotten Tomatoes, this sits at 85% from critics. That's on 287 reviews. That is certified fresh, so that is super positive. The audience, even higher, it sits at 95%. That's on more than 1,000 ratings, so positive there. IMDb, 55,000 ratings, a 7.7 out of 10. Again, very, very high. And even on Letterboxd, 3.9 out of 5 on 508,000 ratings. That is 500,000 ratings. Wow, that is a lot of people, and it's been logged by 563,000 people. That is huge, huge numbers for this film so far. On Metacritic, our traffic light system of red, yellow, and green being positive, and then going down to red, it's green from the critics, 78 out of 100 on 54 critic reviews, and the audience has it as 7.6 out of 10 on 169 reviews, so green as well. I'm super intrigued, because to me, everything that I'd heard coming out of Venice and some of the festivals was this was not good. So I'm very intrigued to see some of those positive comments. But what are my early thoughts? What am I thinking about this film? Did I like it? Did I not? I was surprised. I think probably, like I mentioned, I was probably thinking that it was not going to be that great, but I was hooked straight away. The visuals, the speed of the narrative, I'm not sure what I was expecting, I guess, but this was better than I could have imagined. So thumbs up from me. I enjoyed this. Let's talk about the characters. The characters are characters that people know and love. So we've got to talk about our Baron, Victor Frankenstein. This is a guy in this film version that grew up under the hands of a uncaring and abusive father. He was there, well, Victor was there for his mother, and she was there for him because the dad was never there and didn't care about them. So when she dies in childbirth, this sort of destroys Victor, and William is his new brother that is loved by his dad and shown more care than Victor ever has been. And this obviously hurts Victor a lot. And his dad is into biology. I think he's a surgeon or a doctor as well, and his dad drums this into Victor, which leads him down this path of becoming his own surgeon who wants to create life from death, because this death of his mother has impacted him so much, and death is that overarching idea that he doesn't want it to happen. And I guess this makes him an outsider in the world of academia, as well as an outsider with most of the human connections he has too. The creation of Victor Frankenstein is the creature in this film, and he's a mishmash of dead soldiers, body pieces. this character, we get some pretty good development of this character growing and learning how to be human throughout this film. But I guess he's not only got to discover how to function as a human, but he's got to understand that he's different to his creator, who he at the start models himself on and worships a little bit too. Elizabeth Harlander. This is William's fiance, so she is betrothed to him, and obviously he's the brother of Victor. So Elizabeth comes along, and Victor sort of starts to have these feelings for her, but she doesn't have those feelings back. She more has a drawing towards the creature. She probably, maybe from that fact that she's a scientist and believes in purity and wants to understand this creation of a creature. So she's sort of drawn to him, which probably gets Victor a little bit envious. We did mention before William, Victor's younger brother. He comes along on the ride with his experimentation as adults, and it's clear that he's made a name for himself too. I think it was in finance, and this is something that Victor has struggled to do. He's followed his father's profession and his ways, and still holds that name, trying to be like his father, and maybe not wanting to be as well through the reflection of some violence that he puts on his own son too. Heinrich Harlander. This is Elizabeth's uncle. He's this new character for this film. Elizabeth's uncle, wealthy. He's got the funds to support Victor's experiment, but he also has his own personal motives to continue life or create a new life himself. One of my favourite characters in this film is this blind man. I don't think he had an actual character name. This is a kind and gentle man who probably due to his blindness doesn't judge and accepts everyone for who they are, including Frankenstein, who he helps develop as a human being. And there's some quite nice tender moments between, not Frankenstein, but the creature, and helps the creature develop as well. Captain Anderson is this guy on a ship. He's the person who hears the story of the film through Victor in the first half and the creature in the second half, and this is how the narration is told, sort of in a non-linear way for audiences. The director, I don't really need to say much. Needs no introduction. Guillermo del Toro, Best Picture winner for The Shape of Water, nominee for Nightmare Alley, cult classic Pan's Labyrinth, his version of Pinocchio we covered on this show a few years ago as well. So if you're keen on hearing some more thoughts on del Toro's work, have a listen to our Pinocchio episode too. All right, what are some scenes that work? What are some scenes that didn't work? The things that work, there's a scene where Victor's at the gallows. It's raining. He sees Elizabeth. He's interested in her. She's got this red umbrella while everyone else has black umbrellas. The visuals of him chasing her and following her into this church, and then he sits in on her confessional where he pretends he's the priest, and she explains her hatred towards him, thinking that he's the priest. And this was almost that one moment of humour in the film too, in a pretty heavy film, and I really enjoyed that. Victor goes out onto the battlefield and picks all the parts of these dead bodies, and he's sawing legs and he's tearing skin off. It was gross, but it was so well done. The same with Harlander falling from the rooftop and dying. I wasn't expecting that, but that was practically done really well. Elizabeth's first encounter with the creature, just the tender moment. She takes her gloves off, he takes her other glove off, she asks who hurt him. That was really sweet, as well as the follow-on with that almost awe and wonder from Victor as he floats this leaf through this running water and then offers that leaf to Elizabeth. I thought that was sweet. The wolves attacking the sheep, that was super brutal. I wasn't expecting that. And then I did mention this before, but the blind man, he was just such a great character. I love seeing his kindness towards the creature. Elizabeth being shot, that sort of took me away for a minute, because especially William sort of tells Victor that you're the monster. I thought that was a nice little segment. I know it's a little bit on the nose, but I liked that. And the final shot of the creature taking his hood off and looking at the sun, I thought that was really well done. The only thing that I didn't necessarily like was, after this emotional journey you go on, I did feel a little bit let down by the sorry and forgiveness scene at the end. It just didn't land, and it was a bit on the nose, so I've got to put that in there, as it didn't quite hold that end for me there. The themes, the ideas of this film, there's so much in this film. Like, del Toro, as the director, he has personally said that he thinks the theme of Frankenstein is to be failed parenthood, the mishandling of science, and he says, for me, it's not a cautionary tale. It's about the human spirit. It's about forgiveness, understanding, and the importance of listening to each other. And he says it's a European tale told from a Latin American view. So very cool there. I think, obviously, it talks about what it means to be human, a creator, a creature, a father, a son, to crave love, seek understanding, the idea of what a family is, how to belong, being accepted, that idea of monsters, and only monsters can play God, and being human doesn't disqualify you from being a monster through this duality. And I think you see a lot of this circle motif throughout the film, which to Guillermo apparently represents that circle of life. It's the beginning, the end, the endless idea of life, which I believe the production designer mentioned too when she was working on it, and said, it's a definite theme, and the religious imagery throughout that ties in with that. There's obviously the idea of trying to be a god, but that idea of there's a moment where the body's elevated on almost like a crucifix shape, and there's the angel throughout. Adam and Eve's story is told. There's the apple as Victor's first experiment with, that idea of what made humanity. So I thought that was cool too. And the cycle of abuse, the son onto son, father onto son, that occurs. And if you believe the idea, if you believe something, it doesn't necessarily make it true. So much to take away from this film. The only other thing I'll mention in taking away from this film was, like I said, there was so much early talk about how bad the CGI was. And yes, there's a couple of scenes on the ice and the boat and some of the fighting and throwing people around, but overall I thought the visuals in this were really, really good. So I'm very intrigued. It's interesting. I was listening to The Big Picture with Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins, and they're pretty ruthless in talking about a lot of the dialogue and some of the special effects. And yes, some of the special effects aren't great, but the dialogue. This is a non-English speaking director. You've got to give him a little bit of leniency with some of the dialogue in this film too. I didn't jump onto IMDb to check anyone out, but when I was looking into the film, I didn't realize that Mia Goth played Victor's mother at the start until after I'd watched the film, and she obviously plays Elizabeth in this film as well. I just thought that was a nice little tie-in to her Maxine persona in those Ty West films as well. I just thought that was cool as well. Some questions, some pondering, some thoughts, some ideas. I really like the idea that this isn't a horror film. It's a character study, and I think that's probably what surprised me a little bit. I was probably expecting it to be more of a horror film. And the film, it ends with this quote, "And thus the heart will break, yet brokenly live on." Like, the interpretation of that and the idea of the guilt of a father for being so bad. I guess we see that in Victor. We never see that in his actual father, but I think that was an awesome little line to finish on. And I do like how the film was split into both perspectives of Victor and the creature without the need of showing the same thing over from both sides, which a lot of films, that Catherine Bigelow film that we did the other week did. And I know Del Toro wanted to make a film from each perspective, but I'm sort of glad that he kept it as one film as the rain continues to bucket down above me. The whole bulletproof regeneration thing was something a little bit different from Frankenstein 2. His dad, did he experiment on, or did he allow his mum to die in childbirth? Was that his easy way of getting rid of her? It almost feels like that possibly could have been the case. The sun, the thing in the sky, and obviously the sun as an offspring, and it's pretty blatant, but sun is life, is what Victor says to the creature very early on, and we obviously get that final shot of the creature looking out over the actual sun too. So I thought that was good, and I've got to say, Elordi, he's so good. Like, the transformation and change in character throughout the film with his facial expressions, the body movement changes throughout the film, so well done. I really hope he does get some sort of recognition over the award season somewhere, possibly not the Oscars, but I hope he picks up some nominations somewhere. Other than that, I've spoken for a long time. I'm ready to wrap this up. We give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, I'm a fan. There's so much to like in this. The visuals, the performances, the way it's structured. Del Toro, he's an artist with a vision, and I think this vision deserves to be seen. Even if you don't think it's his best work, I still think it's a lot better than what someone else may have put out for this story. So, big for me, 4 out of 5. Solid film. Enjoyed it. Jump on socials, check us out. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. The question, and this is a pretty easy question, but who's the real monster? Obviously, it's pretty blatant that Del Toro goes down the line that Victor is the monster, and the creature is not actually a monster at all. What do you think? Or do you think that the creature is a monster? I think they really empathized the creature in this version of the film, so I think it's hard to not think that Victor is the true monster. Other than that, we have a huge back catalogue, over 475 episodes covering Netflix original films. That's wild. Give us a search if you can. Check us out on your favorite podcast platform, and we will be back on Monday with our regular episode. As always, thanks for listening.